Few professional baseball players have impacted their sport and their cities as deeply as Hall of Famers Willie McCovey of the San Francisco Giants and Billy Williams of the Chicago Cubs. A new book looks at the careers of these two legends and how they pushed for racial progress and inspired future generations of ball players.
A time for reflection, the parallel legacies of baseball icons William McCovey and Billy Williams was written by teacher and writer Jason Cannon. And Jason joins us now. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me this morning.
So talk about why a book writing about these two stars and their parallel careers.
Well, I think when you consider both Mr. Williams and Mr. McCovey, you're talking about two players who have had incredible impacts on their communities, both during their playing careers and then after they retired. And, you know, many of their years on the field were spent in the shadows of both Willie Mays and Ernie Banks. And so I thought it'd be really interesting to explore their parallels, as they're both born in 1938. They made their debut in the same season, went into the Hall of Fame 1 year apart, and they were girl dads. So there were so many incredible parallels, both coming from the Mobile area as well, that I found it a really fascinating idea to explore. And the book emerged from that idea.
And I don't want to assume anything. Were they friends going through this process for most of their life?
They did know each other as teenagers. In fact, there was a time where they actually played basketball together. If you can imagine Billy running the point and McCovey was a reasonably sturdy power forward. They would play hoops. And then Franklin Williams, who was Billy's older brother, was also friends with them as well. And so, yeah, they were close from a young age for sure.
And talk about Willie McCovey a little bit. I was a big fan, but I didn't realize that he was in the World Series, and it all came down to him at one point. Tell that story, and how did he cope with that?
So in 1962, Game 7, the Giants have McCovey at the plate, which is a situation that they wanted to be in. McCovey hits an absolute bullet that Bobby Richardson catches at second base. If he had hit it 6 inches to the left or a little bit higher to the right, you know, it's probably a World Series clinching hit. Ironically, McCovey's probably most famous at bat is an out, if you can believe that, all these years later. And, you know, people asked him about it his whole life. There was no question about it, but he handled it with grace. He knew it was kind of part of the deal. And there was really a sweet story that Richardson told me about in McCovey's last few months. He actually sent him a picture, and he had written a note on the picture saying, "Let's be friends." And so I just think that full circle moment there in 2018 towards the end of McCovey's life says a lot about him as a person as well.
Well, you know, Chicago Cub fans are obviously very familiar with Billy Williams. What did you learn about him that Chicagoans might not know?
You know what's amazing is listening to him tell the stories about when he was younger, growing up in Whistler, which is just outside Mobile in those days, and they would play tops, this game where they would get bottle caps and then they would spin them, curve them, they would dip, they would dive, and they would, you know, take basically batting practice with broomsticks. And many of the players in the area grew up playing that game. And in later years, they went back to that as one of the reasons why they developed such excellent hand-eye coordination. You know, there's this mystery or a question anyway about why Mobile, Alabama has produced more Hall of Famers per capita than any other city in America. And a number of instances, number of players pointed back to playing tops as one of the reasons why.
Wow. How did they handle the race issue? Did they handle it differently? And did it impact them differently?
Yeah, I think for both of them, they definitely encountered it. And, you know, they were recipients of disgusting behavior by certain people. And there's a lot to be learned in their stories there. I think for McCovey, he went back to visit family a couple of times, but he made it pretty well known that he did not want to go back, and only did so on very rare occasions and not really at all later in life. Billy had a lot of family and would go visit his family quite frequently, and they would do road trips. The family would get together and go visit. So there was a little bit more involvement in terms of just seeing people and knowing people down there than perhaps Willie, who had settled in California. But they both, in their post-playing days, have had a lot of influence on the organizations. And I know at one point, for example, McCovey, after seeing the roster late in spring training, he called people in the front office, and he wanted to know why there wasn't an African American on the roster, and it was a point that he wanted to make. And so both of them have been involved in their influence of the organizations after their playing days, and rightfully so.
Wow. Well, for more, you can check out Jason Cannon on Instagram. Oh, you also have a Cubs book that we did a backstory on, I believe, right, Jason?
Yeah, old Charlie Murphy. He's probably still up to no good.
Charlie Murphy, the owner of the early Cubs championship teams, also a good read.
Well, thanks so much. We appreciate it, Jason.
Hey, all right. Appreciate you guys. Be well. Have a good one, Chicagoland.
Take care.
Thanks.